Yeah, guys, please check once I'm audible or not. Please just type one letter, either C or N, whatever it is. Okay. Right, sir. We'll start with the session. You see, I'll con. Hmm? Okay, let's continue further. The further concept will go further with you got how to write the JPQL query and how to run the JPQL query. Now let's see how to write the SQL query, named query. So some more details we'll understand with the query. And we will also understand about what is criteria. Okay, I will explain these concepts in the today's pointer. See, yeah, okay, guys. Let's go ahead. Let's move on. Sure. Okay. Right. Is it clear, everyone? Guys, is it clear? My voice is clear to all of you, or you are getting any echo? Okay, then. Nice. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. See guys. We will start with how we can able to write the SQL queries. Actually, in JPA, we can able to run JPQL queries. Second, we can also run SQL queries. If you want, you can write SQL queries also. Earlier, in the last example and last two sessions, we discussed about how to write the JPQL queries and how to execute them. That's what we discussed in the last session with an example. But what I'm saying now, in JPA, okay, you can able to write SQL queries and you can execute them. But you know the difference between SQL query and JPQL query, right? You know the difference between what and what? SQL query and JPQL query. You know the difference, right? So SQL queries are database dependent, but JPL queries are database independent. That's the difference. Suppose if I want to execute SQL queries, my question is now, how can I execute SQL queries in JPA? How to execute SQL queries in JPA? This is a question. Okay. You know the difference. For example, okay, your application is binded with one database only, which means you do not want to change the database at any point of time. So in that case, I can directly write SQL queries in my code, because I know that what my project will never change database server. Database server remains constant. If it is MySQL, then my project is always going to use MySQL only. My project don't want to use any other database, only MySQL. In future also, my project always wants to work with MySQL database only or Oracle database only. Like this, if there is no change or migration of one database server to other database server, you can directly write SQL queries and you can execute. So JPA has given two facilities for the developer. One facility, you write a JPQL query, Hibernate, that is a JPA provider, will convert the JPQL query to SQL query with respect to your database and will execute that. One option. Second option, you directly write SQL query and execute it. Two options now, right? When to directly write SQL query? If I am very clear that my application is definitely going to make use of same database always. If a database server is not changed, same database server will be there throughout my application. So in that case, I can directly write SQL queries and I can execute it. So two options are given. One is you can write either JPQL queries and you can execute them. Otherwise, you can write SQL queries and you can execute them, right? Let's see how to execute SQL queries. Methods are same, query object is same. But we are creating what? We are creating the SQL query, not JPQL query. SQL queries are called as native queries. Native queries means what? Native queries means they are native to the specific database. Okay, that's called native query. SQL queries are called native queries. Native queries means what? They are specific to one database server. They always works perfectly on the database server. They may not work on other database server as it is. That is called native query. So here we have to create native query object. What object do you have to create now? Native query object we need to create. Native query object we need to create. There is a method called create native query. What's the method name? Create native query method is given in entity manager. Let us open the entity manager first. Let us open the entity manager first. Yes. Let us open entity manager first. Please understand. I will write entity manager. I will go with the entity manager. So in entity manager, you have a method called create named query, create native query. This is a method. There are two methods here. What's the one method? Create native query. This method, create native query. Second method is saying that what? You write SQL string. You write what string? SQL string, and also you pass the result class. Pass the result class. Automatically, the result is converted to objects of the result class. For example, if this query is selecting 2 records or 5 records from EMP table, example, then tell me each record is converted to the result class object, employee class object. So you can pass the second parameter as what? A result class. First parameter is what? Your SQL string. In the first way, create an instance of query for executing the native SQL statement. What do you mean by native SQL statement? What is the purpose of native SQL statement? Native SQL statement is nothing but the SQL statement with respect to the particular database. That is called a native SQL query. Okay, guys. Second one is what? Create native query with 2 parameters. What's the first parameter? SQL string. Second parameter is what? Yes, it is for result class. It returns query object. What object? Query object. You know, query object, right? This is a query object, which returns a query object. Right. Let's go ahead. Let us understand about how to work with this. Okay. Observe here. I'll tell you. So here only I have with me, I'm writing. So how to execute SQL queries? See, for example, like this now. For example, query, or say, for example, string, my SQL string equal to, observe here, select star from EMP where DEPTNO equal to question mark. Guys, select a star from EMP where DEPTNO equal to question mark. Are you getting my point? Yes. Okay, it is my string, guys. What is my string? SQL string is my variable. This is JPQL query, or is this SQL query? Yeah, it is an SQL query. It is not the JPQL query, it is an SQL query. Yeah. What I want to know, I want to run this. How can I run this? Query object I need to create. Query Q equal to entity manager dot. Entity manager dot. What's the method name? create native query. Create native query. What is your native query? That SQL string, comma, result class. What is the result class? Employee entity dot class. Okay. What is the result class here? Employee entity. So let me change the line here. You can see two parameters I'm passing here. What is the first parameter I'm passing? SQL string. Second parameter I'm passing result class. Who is my result class? Employee entity. What will happen internally? This query will be executed. Okay. We are getting some rows now. So each row is converted to result class object. Who is the result class? Employee entity. Means what? Every record is converted to result class object, employee entity object. Okay, we have to pass two parameters here. What is the first parameter? SQL string. Second parameter, result class. Result class we are passing. Result class as a class object, employee entity dot class. Result class we are passing. I got a query object now? Yes. See, this query has a parameter. Why I am not writing question mark 1? Why I am not writing question mark 1 or why I am not writing colon? Because it is not a JPQL query. It is not a JPQL query. It is what? SQL query. So in SQL query, we cannot write question mark with index. Only we can write a question mark without index. In a JPQL query, how do you write the same? Question mark 1 you will write. Question mark 2 you will write. But in SQL, only question mark we can write. We cannot write question mark 1. Okay? Right. Observe here. Q dot set parameter. Okay na? 1 comma 1 means first parameter, department number 30. Then what I say? List LST equal to Q dot, what's the method name? Get result list. I told you yesterday 3 methods. What are the 3 methods? Get result list is one method. Get single result is one method. Next one is what? Sorry, execute update is one method. 3 methods I told you now. What are the 3 methods? Get result list, get single result, execute update. There are how many methods now? 3 methods. So 3 methods are there. I'm calling the get result list method. When to call get single result method? If there are only one object, if you are selecting only one record from table, call get single result method. But here we are selecting multiple records now. So call what? Get result list method. Get result list method. Okay. So, okay, let's go ahead. Suppose I have an update query or insert query or delete query. Okay, this is for executing the select statement. It is select statement. But say for example, I have update query or I have a delete query, update or delete any query. Suppose I have an update query. Okay, so my query is what? String SQL string equal to update emp. Okay, set something manager or bonus, whatever it is. Okay, set sal equal to question mark where deptno equal to question mark. Say you have one simple query. You have one simple query like this. Update emp set sal equal to question mark where deptno equal to question mark. You have a query now. What I want to do now? I want to execute this query. How can I execute this query? Query Q equal to entity manager dot create native query of SQL string. Don't pass result class. Why? This is not select operation. It is what operation? Update operation. When you are performing update or delete operations, you don't expect any result na. I mean, you don't expect the result class na. You are expecting what? integer, 2 rows updated, 5 rows updated, or 3 rows deleted. You are expecting an integer value, right? But not the employee object. So don't pass the result class. Now this time, how many parameters is enough? One parameter. But in the above, how many parameters we are passing? Two parameters we are passing, guys. But here only one parameter is enough. SQL string is only one we are passing. Now it is an update operation now. You know, for insert, update, delete operations. Okay, transaction is mandatory. So then how can I start the transaction? Entity, transaction, tx equal to entity manager dot get transaction. Tx dot begin. First begin the transaction. Then what? Int x equal to some variable. Entity manager dot execute update. Sorry. Query update na. Q dot. What's the method name? Execute update. Tx dot commit. See, why I am calling execute update method here? Why I am calling execute update method here? Why I am calling execute update method? It is not a select operation, right? It is what operation? Update operation. When you are updating or when you are deleting or inserting, you have to call which method? Execute update method. If you are selecting single record, which method you have to call? Get single result. When you are selecting multiple records from table, then you have to call which method? Get result list. So 3 methods you remember, that's enough now, right? One method is to select multiple records. Another method is to select single record. Another method is to perform insert or update or delete operations, right? What's the method? Execute update. Execute update. Got it now? Right. This is a way of executing what queries? SQL queries. Means what? You can run JPQL queries and even you can also run SQL queries. Okay, that's all up to you. Very good. Next. Okay, we'll go ahead. Guys, is it clear? Type C or N in the chat box. Okay, almost the same concept, but method name is create native query. Yesterday I called create query method. Create query method for JPQL queries. Create native query method for SQL queries. That's all. Native query is nothing but SQL query. Yes. Yes. Good. Good, guys. We'll move. Listen here. Okay. Listen here. Yesterday, we have an example, right? Yesterday's example is there now. But in our yesterday's example, which type of queries we have executed in our methods? JPQL queries. Today, what you have to do? Same example, once again you prepare. Same example, once again you develop. But only the thing is what? Instead of writing JPQL queries, you write SQL queries and you execute them. Got it? You write what queries? You write what queries? SQL queries and you execute them. Okay? Good. Let's move on. Now I want to talk about the next concept name as named queries. These are all queries concept only, but I'm talking about named queries. Okay. Query, native query. Now we are talking about what query? Named query. Named query. Yes. Yes, guys. Now we are talking about named query. Understand? Okay, named query. Okay, correct? Named query. I'll explain you. See here. You are writing entity class now? Okay, entity class means what? It is a class which is mapped with table. That is called what class? Entity class. Entity class means it is a class mapped with the table in the database. That is called entity class. How can you declare that this is an entity class? We have annotation called what? At the rate entity, at the rate entity, at the rate table. We are writing some annotations like that, right? We have written already these annotations. That is called what class? Entity class. Okay, observe here. Actually, we have entity class and we have DO class. Yesterday, we have entity class, and next we have a DO class. DO class, I mean DO IMPL. First we are creating an interface and we are writing implementation class. Na? That implementation class is called what? DO class. So I have entity class and I have DO class. Two classes are there with me. Yesterday what we did, all our queries, JPQL queries are there. Na? What we did now, we written our JPQL query in one constants class. Or the class name app constants, one class we created. There we created query 1, query 2, query 3, some variables we created. Na? Yesterday we did that, right? Separated, na? Right. Thing is, observe here. We have entity class, we have DO class, and yesterday we also created one more class called what? App constants. Correct? We created like this. This is our entity class. We are defining the query in constants class. We are executing the query in DO class. Got it my point? Thing is what? Entity class in a separate Java file. App constants, separate Java file. DO class, one more separate Java file. But what I want to do now, see, query I am defining in app constants. Okay, query I am defining here. Entity class is in another file. Getting my point? But in this app constants class, what I am writing? From employee entity E, one query we are preparing now. Yes, where are you writing that query? In app constants class. But in that query, we have to use entity class variables. Am I right or not? You are writing the query or defining the query at some other file. That will kill the readability of the query. Suppose my query is a simple query, one line query. But suppose if it is a join query which is containing, say for example, 10 lines query. A very large query, 10 lines query is there. I want to prepare one query with 10 lines. Right. Where is a query I have to define? In app constants class. But in that constants class, can you see what are the variables in employee entity class? No. If you want to see the variables, you have to open what class again? Entity class. Means what? Your entity class is in one file. It's a related query in another file. Then you are executing in DO class. You got the clarity on this point now? Now, to improve readability, to improve the query readability, you can write that query in entity class only. Where can I write my query now? In entity class only, you can write the query also. Right. You can write your query in entity class only. Now tell me, your query, your entity class, both are in one file now. Now what happens now? Readability of the query is improved, right? Because where is entity class and where is my query? In same file, single file. In that file only, I can see entity class. I can see my variables, right? And I can see my query also. So that it makes me easy to understand now, right? So in order to write the queries directly in entity class only, there is a concept given called as named queries. You got my point now? So tell me what's the purpose of named queries? Named queries purpose is what? To write what? To write what? SQL queries directly in entity class only we can able to write. That is called advantage of what query? Named queries. Got the clarity on this point now? Very good. What's the advantage of writing like that? It will improve the readability, because where is your entity class and where is your query? In two different files or in single file? Single file. In single file, if you read both of them, you can able to read the query very easily, Yes. What's the concept name given? Named queries. So tell me why named queries concept is given? Why named queries concept is given? Yes. So using named queries, we can write using named queries. Okay. Using named queries, we can write our JPQL or SQL query. We can write our JPQL or SQL query in entity class itself. Using named queries, we can write our JPQL or SQL query in entity class itself directly. Entity class itself. So named queries will improve the readability. Guys, will improve the readability. That's the purpose. Will improve the readability of the queries. Okay. So using named queries, okay, na? Guys, using named queries, you can write or you can define what? Entity class and SQL query or JPQL query and your query in a single file. In a single file. That is what the, yes. Using named queries, you can define entity class and your query in a single file. Okay, let me explain how you can write. Okay, I will give you the outlines and you have to write like a programs. So let us see how we can able to write it. Okay, let us identify how do we do that. Correct? So see here. What I am writing here, I am writing one entity class like this now. How can we write entity class? How can you write entity class means how can you declare that this is an entity class? @entity. If you don't write @entity, it is not called entity class. So which is mandatory annotation? @entity. But what about @table? @table also one annotation, na? Is it mandatory? No. If the table name in database is matching with the class name, then you no need to map the table name, right? Able to follow me? Then @table is optional. But what is mandatory? @entity is mandatory, but @table is optional. Are clear? Let me explain. I will write here. Observe here. @entity. Okay, @entity. @table. Suppose a table name equal to EMP. Suppose I have a table called EMP. Now look at this. @named query. What is that? @named query. You can give some name. Give a name to the query. To identify this query, one name is required. With this name, this query can be executed. Right? Name equal to. Getting my point or not? Name equal to. I'm writing query here. Some name. It can be any name. Query 1 or Q1. Some other query. Whatever you want. It's your wish. So for example, For example, I'm writing query 1. Then query equals to from employee entity E where E dot DEPT number equal to question mark 1. For example, then I'm starting public class. I have a class and class name is employee entity. And I have a column. It's an ID column. ID column name is EMPNO, primary key column, private integer EMP number. Okay, what is a column I want to map? What is a column name? What is the column name? Column name is the EMPNO. But what is the variable name? EMP number. So I'm mapping EMP number with a column EMPNO. Okay. Then I'm mapping column name is ename. I'm mapping what? Private what? String. What guys? EMP name. I'm mapping EMP name with which column? Ename. Okay, na? I'm mapping like this, na? Next what? At the rate column. Tell me guys, what? Name equal to sal. Mapping with private double salary. Salary. Next column. Name equal to DEPTNO. Private integer DEPT number. And of course, we have setters, getters, blah, blah, blah. I'm not writing all of them. I am not writing all of them. See, this entity class is already known to you. Yesterday, we written this class only. In our yesterday's example, what is our entity class name? Yesterday, our class name is what? Employee entity, same class only. Today, just only one annotation added newly. Do you know what's the annotation? At the rate named query. At the rate named query. That is the only annotation today I have included. Guys, remaining all, yesterday only you know them. Yesterday only you know them, remaining all. Only today I added one annotation. What is that? At the rate named query. Got it, huh? Very good. I'll explain. Okay? Good. Guys are understanding, writing chat box now. C or N. Okay. Guys, okay, thank you. Okay. Only annotation is named query. Do remember this. Okay. Today we'll write application for this. I'll explain you. Got it, huh? This entity class, once again I'm repeating guys, this entity class is yesterday's class only. Today only one annotation I have added newly. What is that? At the rate named query. Named query. Okay, good. But my question is now how to run the named query. Correct? Query we are writing here. But how can I execute this query and how can I get the data from table? How can I get the objects from database? We need to create either query object or typed query object. What are we going to create now? Query object you can create or typed query object you need to create. You are getting my point? If it is SQL query, you have to create query object. If it is a JPQL query, you can create anyone, either query object or typed query object. I want to create a typed query object now. See here. Understand me. Tell me my query is what type of query this is? From employee entity E where E dot DEPT number equal to question mark 1. This query is called what type of query? It is the what query? JPQL query. JPQL query na? How can you say? How can you say that it is a JPQL query? Yeah, we are not writing any table name and we are not writing any column name. Am I right or not? What we are writing there? Entity class reference variable we are writing. Correct? And entity class variable names we are writing. Now this is what query? JPQL query. JPQL query can directly start with from keyword. Am I right or not? See my query. Am I writing select star from? Directly from I am writing now? Yes. So which type of query can directly start with from keyword? JPQL query. But can you start SQL query directly with from keyword? No. You must select star like that. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Understand here? Yes. Guys, correct. Listen to me. Yes, guys, correct. Listen to me. Please listen. My question is now how to run this named query. My question is how to run this named query. So how to run or execute the named query. Okay, guys. Yeah. We must write. Okay. How to execute the named query. Listen here. Okay, listen. I'm creating. See, typed query of employee entity. Typed query of employee entity. Suppose a TQ equal to entity manager dot create named query. What's the method name? Create named query of, pass the name of the query. What's the name of the query? Query 1. Query 1. Are you able to follow me? What's the point I'm saying now, right? Yes. Create named query of, what's the name of the query? Query 1. That's all. That's all. You have to call this method create named query with query 1. This is a method create named query. I can show you the method here. Create named query. Only that method you just observe. Create named query and it pass 2 parameters here. I have to pass the 2 parameters. Create named query. What's the first one? Name. Second one, result class. I'll pass the result class also. That's all. So I will pass the result class also. Name is query 1, comma, employee entity dot class. This is called my result class, na? Yes. Observe here. 2 parameters I'm passing. Okay. What the first parameter? Query name. Second parameter, result class. Who is the result class? Employee entity. Again, my question. Okay, named query object is created. Tell me, is this query has any parameters? Is this query? What's the name? Query 1. What's the query for this? What's the name? Query 1. What's the query? From employee entity E, where E dot DEPT number equal to what? Question mark 1. Tell me, do you have any question mark? I mean, do you have any query parameter? Yes, you have to set the data, na? So how can I set the parameter data? How can I set the value to the parameter? TQ dot. Yeah, please understand me. TQ dot. What is that? Set parameter of 1 comma. Okay, 1 comma 40. 1 comma 40. Can you tell me which method I have to call now? How can I execute this query object? Typed query object. How can I execute this typed query object? Which method I have to call? Get result list. Get result list na. Okay. What's the method to call? Get result, not get single result. Get result list. Why? Because with a given department number, only one employee can exist or multiple employees can exist. Means what, your query selects one record or multiple records. If query is selecting multiple records, then what I have to do? I have to call get result list method only, na? Yes, correct. You are correct. You are correct. So guys, what I'm calling list of employee entity LST equal to TQ dot get result list. Call this method. Remember this point. If query selects multiple records, if a query is selecting multiple records, then call which method? Get result list. If query is selecting single record, get single result. If it is to perform any update, delete, or insert operation, execute update. Only 3 methods. Remember the 3 methods. That's it. That's it. That's it. Correct. Correct. Guys, please again understand me. Please again understand me. Okay, right? Please again understand me. See here. What is the annotation I have explained you? Named query. What is the advantage of named query? We can write the query and the entity class used in that query, both in single file. Tell me, what is the entity class I'm using in this query? Employee entity. Tell me, employee entity class is also in the same file now? Means what, we can write the query and the entity class used in the query, both into same file, single file, so that it will improve the readability. Readability. Are you getting my point or not, right? Here, my entity class is containing just 4 properties only, 4 variables only. But if there are, for example, 25 variables are there, and I'm mapping the 25 variables with the 25 columns of the table, then tell me our query becomes lengthy query, na? Am I right or not? So how can you make it more readable query? By writing that query also in same file. So which concept is given to do that? Named query. Named query is to write JPQL query only. This is what type of query? JPQL query, not SQL query. If you want to directly write SQL query, then annotation name is @named native query. What's the annotation? @named native query. You are getting my point or not? What's the difference between named query and named native query? Named query is to define JPQL query. Named native query is to define SQL query. That's it. That's it. That's it. See, @named native query. We'll write this example next. @named native query. Okay. Annotation is provided for defining SQL queries at entity class. Got it, na? You understood my point, right? You got my point. Named native query annotation is provided for defining SQL queries at entity class. You got it, right, everybody? Yes. What's the annotation? named native query. This annotation is provided for defining SQL queries at entity class. Okay, right? So let's see by writing the same example yesterday, but with some changes. Let's go ahead with an example. So I'm writing one new application here. So I'm creating a new Maven project. Let's wait for the archetypes. These are all called as archetypes. ARCHE, archetype, type, archetypes. Okay, archetype is nothing but a template. It's a template for creating the project structure. See, if I choose quick start archetype and if I create the project, you're automatically getting what? One project structure, Maven project structure, na? src/main/java you are getting, form.xml file you are getting, src/test/java you are getting the structure, na? So to create that project structure only, we are choosing archetype. Okay, right? What's the archetype I'm selecting? Quick start. What's the name? Maven archetype, Maven archetype, quick start. Maven archetype, quick start. Next, group ID, always I want to use com.ait. But artifact ID, I just want to use, it is named. Okay, named query example or named query application. Named query application. And a package name I want com.ait. I want to use any name, entity. Finish. And I need to type Y. Yes, in lowercase or uppercase doesn't matter, type Y. Now we got a build success. Once we got the build success, we got a project here. What's the name? Named query application. I have a project like this, named query application. Yes. Let's copy the dependencies, yesterday dependencies, because I'm connecting with Oracle now, not MySQL, right? So Hibernate dependency, JPA dependencies, followed by Oracle driver dependency. Yesterday we changed this, right? Yesterday we changed it. Previous examples what? MySQL driver, but this time Oracle driver. Oracle driver. Let us copy all this into our pom.xml file of this project. Go to dependencies tag, open the dependencies tag, press enter, and you can start adding them. You can start adding them, correct? You're done. Okay, Oracle driver dependency, right? This is Oracle driver dependency only, na? Yes, nice. Next, resources folder is required. We'll create. First, I would like to change the version 11. 11. Let us update the project. Okay, let us create resources folder, then we will update. Main, right click, new folder. What's the folder name? Resources. Resources. Then you update it. Right click, Maven, update project. Yeah, we are done. It changed to 11, Java SE 11, and also I got resources folder. Okay, same as yesterday's example. Today, what I need? Meta INF folder. Copy meta INF folder. Paste it. Now we can say I got a meta INF folder. Insert this. What's the file name? Persistence.xml file. My entity class name is employee entity only. Today also my entity class is same, right? And Oracle driver, URL, everything same. I am not making any change here. What is the persistence unit name? Test. Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah. First, I will delete this app.java file. By default, it is created. I will go to my last example. Let us copy the same file employee entity and I would like to paste here. Okay, right? This is yesterday only we created now. Yes. Okay. Very good. Here, one small point. Okay, right. One small point. It is there in our okay. See here. One small thing. Okay, I have to explain you. The small point which I would like to explain is, whenever we are writing entity classes, I'm not using primitive data type. Means I'm not writing private int, int. I think you might have observed in every example, I'm not writing int employee number. Integer I'm writing, otherwise a double I'm writing. I'm not using primitive data type. I'm using wrapper type. Wrapper type I'm using, but I'm not using primitive type. Do you know the reason why I'm using like that? Correct. Yeah, guys, write in chat box now. Write in chat box if you know why I'm using int, why I'm not using integer. Sorry, why I'm not using int, why I'm using integer. I'm not writing int emp number. I'm writing integer emp number. I'm writing double salary, not D lowercase double, D uppercase double. I'm writing like that. Any reason, any specific reason for this? That's what I'm asking. Right in chat box. Yeah. Okay. Anyone? Anyone? See. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Guys, observe it. See, for an example, assume that, guys, please understand me. For an example, instead of integer, I took int. Listen to me. Instead of integer, I took int. It is int department number. Question, you are getting my point, right? What I took here? Int, not integer. So I am creating employee entity object. Employee entity object I am creating. Employee entity. Employee entity E equal to new employee entity. Okay, just understand me. Employee entity. Then I'm calling E dot set employee number, EMP number 1 to 1. Okay, set EMP name. I'm calling setter methods only now. ABC is the name of the employee. Set salary 5,000. Okay, I forgot to set the department number. I forgot. Only I set employee name, sorry, employee number, employee name, and salary. Actually, what I need to set department number also, but I forgot. Then I'm persisting it. Means I'm saving it. Entity manager dot persist of E. Okay, na? Then tell me. If I don't set the department number, then tell me what is the value default value set for the department number and inserted in the database now? 0. 0, right? 0. You know what? 0 is a value in the database. 0 is a value in the database. Null is not a value. In the database, null is not a value, but 0 is a value only. Actually, department number is not 0. I forgot to set the department number. Tell me what should be inserted in the database? Null. But what is inserting? What we are expecting? Null. But what is actual value inserted? 0. Why 0? Because it is an integer variable. What's the default value of integer variable? 0. So 0 is inserted in the database. So tell me, if I open the database record, the employee record in the database table, what's the department number there? 0. But actually, 0 is not a valid department number. For example, what should be inserted actually? Null. Because I forgot. Because I forgot the department number. So it should insert null there. But instead of null, what is inserting? 0. 0 is a value. I get my point. Suppose student record is there. Student record means student ID, student name, and marks. For example, one student has not attended exams. He has not attended exams. Then tell me, in the marks column, what should be inserted? Null. If a marks column contains 0, then what does it mean? That student got 0 marks. He attended the exams, got 0 marks. But that is wrong, no? He has not attended the exam means what should be there? Null should be there, not 0, no? Are you getting my point or not, right? That's the reason why whenever you are writing entity classes, it is recommended to use wrapper types, not the primitive types. Getting my point now? Why we are using integer? Why we are using double D capital? You got the idea now? So what you have to use? Primitive types of wrapper types. Why should I use wrapper types? Why should I use wrapper types? Because if I don't set the data for that property, in the database, it should reflect as null. That's my requirement. But should not be 0. That's the reason why we are using wrapper type, not the primitive type. So whenever you see all our entity classes, I have never used int int, or I have never used a double D lowercase. Every day I'm using what? Integer I capital, double D capital, wrapper classes I'm using. You're getting my point? This is a reason for that. Got the reason now? Clear. Guys, write in chat box. Have you got the answer now? Correct. Yes. Good. Thank you. Yeah, let's go ahead now. Let's go ahead, guys. Okay. Okay. Now here, guys, I am talking about named query. See here, guys. Named query. Okay, please understand named query. Okay, what are the elements of named query? Name. What I'm writing? Name equal to query 1. Next, what I'm writing? Query. Query equal to what I'm writing? From employee entity. It is entity class name. Write in proper case. Employee entity E. Where is a keyword. We can write in any case, uppercase or lower case. E dot DEPT number equal to question mark 1. Guys, observe it. Observe it. Okay, first one is select Java X dot persistence dot named query. Okay, the import statement should be the first one there. Finished. Named query. If I wanted one more named query with the name query 2, I can add one more time. What's the annotation? @ named query. Name equal to query 2. Name equal to query 2. You can write multiple times. Query equal to blah, blah, blah. Some query, whatever you want, you write. Like this, how many queries I can write? You are required. Your choice. Multiple. Your choice, your wish. Okay, but I want to write named native query. Name equal to query 2. Query equal to select star from emp where sal greater than question mark. You understand my point, guys? Tell me, this is what query? JPQL query or SQL query? SQL query na? SQL query na? So for SQL query, we also need to add one more element, that is called result class. What is that? Result class. Who is our result class? Employee entity. Employee entity dot class. So tell me, for which query we have to write result class? If it is a SQL query, tell me this is what query? SQL query. Tell me, for SQL query we also need to add what? Result class. Who is the result class? Employee entity. Employee entity. See, two new annotations you found here. For the two annotations, named query. Next one is what? Named native query. Yes. I want to write the DAO interface first. I want to create a new package first. com.aat.dao. And I want to take my interface name as empdao. Guys, what is my interface name? empdao. Just I'm writing, I can write void return type, otherwise list I can use, whatever that I can use. List of employee entity, please understand. List of employee entity, execute named query of nothing. Do I need to pass any number? I need to pass department number into department number into DEPTNO. Something I'm writing, semicolon. Tell me, what's the method name? Execute named query. Next. Return type is list. Execute named native query. Two methods I'm declaring. These are my own methods. Into sal. Observe clearly. Okay, observe clearly, everyone. Okay, how many methods are declared? Two methods. I showed a DAO IMPL class na? Yes. I want to create a new package. Package name I want to take. Observe it. One new package I want to create now. Package name I want a DAO.impl. DAO is one package. DAO.impl is another package, sub package. New class. Class name empdao.impl. This class implements empdao. empdao. It implements. Correct? But first we need entity manager factory na. So private. What is that? Entity manager factory. Factory equal to, what is that? Persistence dot. What's the method name? Create entity. What is the persistence unit name? Test. Test is a unit name. Let's go back to the first method. First I need entity manager na. So how to create entity manager? Entity manager em equal to factory dot create entity manager. Yes. Okay. How to execute that named query? What's the name of the query first of all? What is the name of the query? Query 1. Query 1, right? Typed query of what entity? Employee entity. What you can write? Typed query of employee entity. TQ equals to, come on, TQ equals to em dot create what query? Named query. Tell me what is the named query name? Query 1. Query 1. What is the result class? Employee entity dot class. Employee entity dot class. You got my point, everyone? Yes. Yes. Next. List of employee entity. LST equal to TQ dot get result list. EM dot close result return list. Okay. And yeah, correct. You are correct. I forgot. TQ dot set parameter 1 parameter number, comma, DEPTNO. Because you know that query has one parameter, na? So set the department number to that parameter, then execute it by calling this method, and then close the entity manager, then return the list. Similarly, when you come to the second method, tell me here also entity manager is required, na? Yes, entity manager is required. Yeah, correct. Okay, but tell me here we need typed query object or query object? Query Q equal to em dot create named query. Again, here also method name is create named query only. You are getting my point or not? Create named query only. And what is the name of the query? Query 2. Already in this name, we include a result class also, na? Yes. We are done. Query means which query? JavaX dot persistence dot query. Package name is JavaX dot persistence. Do I need to set any parameter? Q dot set parameter of 1 comma sal. See my query. Don't confuse now. Understand the query fatafat. See here. Sal greater than what? Question mark. Means how many question marks are there? 1 question mark. So 1 comma what I am setting? Salary. This salary parameter value I am setting to the first question mark. This variable value I want to set at first place. I would like to set this value at first parameter. Then execute it. How to execute it now? List LST equal to Q dot. What's the method name? Get result list. EM dot close return LST. Same logic, almost same logic with a small difference. Okay. Second query is what type of query? Second query is what type of query? SQL query. SQL query. What is the result class of this SQL query? Employee entity dot class. Means employee entity type. Okay. Employee entity type. Okay, no problem. I'll typecast at the time of writing. Now, DAO, DAOMPL completed. Let us write the main. Means one more package. What's the package name? com.ait.test. Test or main or client, whatever the package name you want to write. And I wanted a main class. Main class name I want to use tester. Tester. Tell me in this tester class, first one, what I need to create? I need to create the, what I need to create now? Which methods I want to call? Which methods I want to call? From this main, I have to call the method now. Which method I want to call? DAO class methods. What are the DAO class methods? Execute named query. Next one, execute named native query. 2 methods I want to call. If I want to call the methods, first I have to create object of this class now. What's the class name? EMPDAO, IMPL. What I'm writing? EMPDAO, DAO equal to what? New EMPDAO, IMPL. You know that, right? Right. Observe here. What is EMPDAO? What is EMPDAO? Interface. What is EMPDAO? IMPL? Implementation class. Tell me here, object is created for interface or implementation class? Yes, object is created for implementation class, but object is stored in EMP-DAO interface, in the interface reference variable, EMP-DAO. You got my point? Yes. Nice. Guys, let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead. Everyone, what I can say? DAO dot execute named query. I pass the department number na? Department number 20. Which returns me list na? Employee, entity, LST equal to LST dot for each system dot out colon println. First, let us run this. Okay. Now see here, how many employees are there with the department number 20? 2 employees are there. One employee name is Allen. Another employee name is James. James and Allen are there in my table. Okay, right? Similarly, now I want to keep this code in comment. I will let you keep this code in comment. Okay. Next. List LST equal to DAO dot. What's the next method? Execute named native query salary 2000. Sorry, salary 2000. What does it mean now? What does it mean now? I want to get the employee with a salary more than 2000, greater than 2000. Because what is my query? Where sal greater than or equal to now? Greater than question mark means what's the value I'm setting? 2000. Greater than 2000. Yes. Observe here. LST dot for each system dot out colon println. See the output now. I'll explain you, but see the output. Okay, see the output now. You observe here. There are how many employees with a salary more than 2000? Almost 6 employees are there. See what are the salaries there? What is the salary here? 4000 here. 3600, 5000, 6000, 3000, 3000, right? For example, if I give more than 3000, then how many employees I will get? 4 employees only. Last two I won't get. I won't get the Kathy and I won't get Srikaran, right? Suppose, understand, suppose, what's the value I'm passing? 3000. So how many employees are there with greater than salary 3000? 4 employees are there. Run this. Run this. You can see only 4 now. Okay, 4000, 3600, 5000, 6000. But you are not getting Kathy and you are not getting query. SQL query. It's not JP query. It's SQL query. It's SQL query, not a JPQL query. You got my point now? Go ahead. Right. So what are the 2 new annotations you learned today? What are the 2 new annotations you learned today? One is at the rate named query. Next one is at the rate named native query, right? 2 annotations. Where can you write them? In entity class. Where on top of the entity class you can write. What's the advantage of this? You can write the query and the class into same file so that you can improve the readability of the query. That's the purpose. How to run this query? How can I run this named query? First, you have to create a query object or typed query object. Anyone, query object or typed query object. By calling the which method? Create named query. Then set the values to the parameters. Then execute the method. When to call get result list method? Selecting multiple records. When to call get single result method? For selecting the single record. For selecting single record, get result, sorry, get single result. For multiple records, get result list. Okay, for insert, update, delete operations, execute update. Got it now? Yeah, that's for today.